Welcome to another episode of Wild and Well. Today I'm talking to Farzana Spiro all about how we can raise healthy kids in a world that is filled with quite a few chemicals and toxins. And she's also the founder of Ellie's Earth Natural, which we will talk all about in this conversation. So thank you so much for coming on to have this conversation. But before we get into it, can you tell us one thing that you've done today to take care of yourself?
Oh, that is such a great question, Hillary. There's a couple things that I do, I think, to take care of myself. And so maybe what I'll do is I'll explain just very quickly who I am, and then that may actually help you and our listeners understand why I need to take care of myself. So I am a mom. I have three incredible daughters. They're very, very busy. They all play sports. Two of them play competitive sports, and they all play musical instruments, of course, and they're all in school. And I am employed full time, so I do have a full time job, and I'm an entrepreneur. And so I'm coining the term I'm an employed entrepreneur. It's new, and I'm going to own it. And so when I come across people and when I meet people, the first thing I get asked is how do you do it all? And there's a couple things that I hold sacred that I do not. Compromise the integrity of. And the first is I take care of myself before I take care of others. And it's no different than when you're on an airplane and they say put the mask on yourself before you put it on your kids. Very, very same premise. And so what that means is I do start with meditation and physical movement in the day. Very, very important for me. We all have our own ways of grounding and of preparing ourselves for the day. Those two fundamental things for me are so, so important. And so physical movement, followed by, even if it's just 5 minutes of meditation, I don't use an app. I lie in stillness and quiet, and I just kind of think about the day, what I intend to do that day, how I intend to show up and be successful that day. Coupled with at the end of the day, I do not, I will be honest and transparent. I don't have the time to journal, but I will spend a couple of minutes on reflection. I think reflection is important. I think gratitude is important. And so thanking myself for all of the things that happened in that day, and then also being mindful of being easy on ourselves. So if something doesn't go the way that you planned, it is okay. It is absolutely okay. And tomorrow is a brand new start.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And what a nice way to start your day and end your day with those two practices. They're very doable, but they are something that would take time to build into a schedule. But it makes such a difference to do those, doesn't it?
It does. It really, really does. Um, I'm also very mindful of where I place my device at the end of the night. So it's very far away from me. And I'll just set a timer on my watch if I'm doing that reflection at the end of the day. And sometimes it's 60 seconds. I mean, that's really all you need. But when you start scrolling, that 60 seconds, you and I both know, turns into 15 minutes, into 27 minutes. And all of a sudden, the 60 seconds is something you can't do anymore. It sounds easy, but it's actually a challenging shift. I'm not gonna lie, but once you do it, it's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Yeah, it takes time to really like solidify that as a habit, doesn't it? But
Yes.
those things they do help. And often when we are on devices, we think, I don't have the time. And we do
Mhm.
live busy lives. Like you say, like you're doing so many things, you're wearing so many different hats. But 60 seconds is something that we can actually like implement, right? We can actually do something for 60 seconds. So, yeah,
Totally.
I do that too with gratitude at the end of the day. And it shifts my perspective and my
Yes.
mindset and my mood. It's just so amazing. And
It is.
it doesn't take much time. I don't write it down either. I just say it to my husband or my kids or just internally, I think it. And wow, yeah, it really does do incredible things.
Agreed.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about Ellie's Earth and like what led you to create a low tox deodorant?
Yeah, low tox deodorant. I know it's not like the sexiest product, right? It's deodorant. But we all need it. And but no one really talks about it or promotes it. So it was an interesting journey. I mean, I've got three daughters, as I said, and no different than any other shared experience that you would have with your child. I mean, you brush your teeth together, you teach them how to wash their hair and shower, etc. And so when it came time to put on deodorant with my daughters, Naturally, I looked on shelves, looked online, and came up short. I was really searching for like a very premium looking deodorant that was all natural and that would be cool enough to hold its own place in like their soccer bag or, in my daughter's backpack as she's playing piano on stage. Performance anxiety is a thing, also causes you to sweat. So, and like I said, I fell short. And so I thought, okay, what's going on? Why is there not a premium deodorant? And naturally, what parents do today, I think, is they just reach for their own. Say, here, use this. I didn't think that was going to cut it anymore. And so funny enough, so this is actually my third business. My first two that I started failed. They failed miserably. I actually wear those as a badge of honor, though. I really do because I learned so much. Your first business will never succeed, but I could talk about that for years. So what I did differently this time, though, is I said, you know what? I think I may be onto something, but I'm going to actually delve into this a little bit deeper. I wanted to know the background and the research and what the size of the opportunity was. And so I did some research, and there are some kids deodorants on the market, but they're just that. They look very kiddish, not right or wrong or good or bad, but they definitely would not earn a spot in that soccer bag. And so that's how this started. And it was now 3 years ago that I started on this journey. And I looked at different manufacturers, I looked at different packaging companies. We canvassed, I say we, but it was myself, canvassed 100 kids to develop the scents for these deodorants. So everything that we've done was from the ground up and with our kids in mind. But going back to your original question, it was because there was a gap and I thought, you know what? If it's not anybody else, it's going to be me. I'm going to fill the gap.
It's so nice to see that because I started on my low tox, more natural product journey, gosh, I don't know, 15 years ago. And back then it was so hard to find
Yeah.
anything like for adults or kid, but definitely nothing looked cool. So
Right?
it's so good that there's products like this that do the job, are healthy, but our kids actually are open to using too.
Right, exactly. I actually got feedback from one mom and she sent me an email and she said, my daughter won't let me touch her deodorants. She's like, those are mine, mom. Go get your own. So that for me was a win because it means it's definitely cool enough for these kids to call it their own.
And tell us a bit more about like it being healthy. Like what is it about that was so important to you? Because there are so many like strange and unsafe ingredients in deodorants and other personal care products.
Yeah.
Why do we need to care about that as parents?
You know what? I think it's important. Listen, I don't have a medical degree. I will, never kind of position myself as a medical expert. My father was a biochemist. So I do, I was very close to that science background. Some of these formulations are his actually that we've taken to manufacturers. So that's a really, really cool thing. For me, the reason why it was important, and I think you would agree, Hillary, we're seeing a massive shift in migration towards, like you said, you did it 15 years ago, towards natural products. Do we know for sure if aluminum or baking soda deodorants that are or base deodorants are going to be unsafe for us or for our kids? No, I can't answer that. But because I don't know, I am more inclined as a parent to just go the natural route, just in case. And so, what makes Ellie's Earth deodorants super amazing is they are aluminum free, they are baking soda free, they're actually chamomile based. We've used natural scents and essential oils to scent them. And the smells are very, very soft. They're very, very mild because we didn't want our kids to be kind of overpowering in smell. What's more important for us, more important for me, is that we just stop the odor, right? So, the other thing that's very important to me as a parent and as the owner of this company is I'm promoting sweating. Sweating is good. I do not want our kids to stop sweating. That is our body's natural way of detoxing itself. Please sweat. Sweat is important. Um, gosh, I could talk about that for years also. So this deodorant will tackle the odor, but not the sweat.
So, could you tell us a little bit more about sweating? Because it is such a helpful way for our bodies to detox and process things out. But how do we tell that to our kids, especially I imagine teenage girls maybe are self-conscious about that. So how do we have that conversation with them and help them to see that this is a good thing?
Oh my gosh, that's so tough, right? So I'll start by saying this. So first of all, sweat does not smell. You would know this. Sweat is actually odorless. What makes sweat smell is bacteria. And under our arms, it's a really nice, cozy, warm spot for bacteria to grow and cultivate naturally. And so when we sweat through our armpits and it mixes with the bacteria, that's what causes the smell. I think to be honest, and what I've done with my three daughters, Hillary, is I've become that role model. And so I will not shy away from sweating. I wear it proudly. I am sweating right now. I am probably sweating through my shirt. And that is okay for me. And I think I'm going to be honest. I think as a culture, there's this stigma with girls and that they shouldn't sweat. I've seen many deodorant conversations or commercials where, girls will raise up their arms and show the sweat stains and say, "I don't want this to happen anymore." And I think I can't say this loud enough. We need to move away from that. That is okay. Why is that okay for a guy, but it's not okay for us? That doesn't make any sense to me, and I actually have a strong problem with that. I have a really, really big problem with that. So I think as moms, as fathers, I think we need to, parents in general, I think we need to start embodying and living that message that, you know, embrace the sweat. Sweating means that you're strong. It means you're confident. It means you're powerful. Let's just help you with the odor.
Yeah, I really like that. And I have two boys, so I feel like I'm not even going to have to worry about that conversation. It is so interesting that it is really, it's the
Right?
girls that we have to change that paradigm around.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah. I
love
think
that you are out there doing that. We need role models like that.
agreed. Agreed. I think it starts with us. And I think if we speak loudly enough, our girls will hear the message and they'll carry the message.
Yeah. So, what are some other conversations that we should be having with our kids when it comes to hygiene and self-care? I imagine there's lots of them.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. So here's what's interesting. I missed the boat with my first two daughters. So with my oldest daughter, I didn't have the deodorant conversation until after the odor started. And so what happened there was, and what a learning experience for me was I grabbed, the deodorant that I could find because mine wasn't on the shelf yet, of course. And I gave it to her and I said, "Listen, honey, you got to use this." And oh my gosh, it sounded so remedial. And it was, "You're in trouble. You smell. You need to use this every day." So that was a learning experience for me. So with my middle daughter, I said, "You know what? I'm not going to wait. Like, I'm going to start having this conversation sooner." And so I think it was probably like grade maybe 2 or 3 that I started having that conversation with her to say, "Hey, you know what? When we shower at night or when you're getting ready in the morning, let's put on some deodorant together." And then with my youngest daughter, I started it even sooner. So it was actually when she first started school, so JK, junior kindergarten here in Ontario, that I started teaching her about the importance of deodorant. Naturally, like she didn't smell yet, um, but I think that was actually the best time to have the conversation because she started getting used to putting on the deodorant. She may have missed a day or two here or there, but it became natural. And so by the time the body odor started, which was like 8 or 9 years old, she had a pretty locked down routine of using deodorant as part of her personal care routine. So that for me was gold. And I think, Hillary, I think you're the one that actually said to me, "Well, you don't wait until your child has cavities to start brushing their teeth." And that's the other shift that I think that myself and we are promoting as a company is start the conversation before it actually happens. It becomes so much more natural and so much more easier. And it's not so much then a crucial or a tricky conversation versus just one more thing that you have to do when you get up in the morning. I think the other thing that's important and what I've learned is if you notice the odor on your child, a great, great tip for me anyway was to decouple the smell from the child. So, and you know what? It's funny working in corporate Canada, and as a leader, you often have individuals on your team as adults who may have body odor and are bringing that to work with them. And so it's something that I've actually also done at work, in addition to doing at home, where, you kind of have to have this awkward, uneasy, uncomfortable conversation. And so when you decouple the smell from the person, all of a sudden the smell is something else and the person remains intact in absolute value. And so what that sounds like, when I was saying to my daughter is, honey, listen, I know that you take such good care of yourself and you're so active and you're doing such great things. But sometimes when we are very, very active, we may have an odor that follows us. So let's try using the deodorant a little bit more so that the odor stays at home and you can go out and face the world and be your best self. I've
That's a really
separated
nice
it.
strategy. Yeah, I really appreciate that separation. That's something that, as a psychologist, I use a lot when,
Do you really?
yeah, it's called externalization, and it's depending on the type of therapy, but that's the within the therapy that I use, that's what it's called. And we use that. Like if a kid comes in, say they have an eating disorder, and the parents are stressed about it, we can separate the eating disorder from the child. Or if the kid is a picky eater, we can again separate that behavior, and it's like picky eating versus it being like something that's internally wrong with the child.
Yes.
It's like it's its own entity. And then we can not get as defensive about it. We can talk about it more lightly. We can actually problem solve as a group so much more easily. So
Yes.
it's such a good strategy. I use it in my parenting as well. Like it's just, yeah, I love that you use that with this. It makes so much sense.
I had no idea that was a thing.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. It makes sense. It works.
Yeah.
Keep the odor separate. Nobody wants it attached to you. And when you separate it, for me anyway, with my daughter, we worked on it together. It was a thing that we tackled together.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. That's what I do too. It becomes something that you're a team working on this problem
Yes.
rather than you as the parent attacking the child, or it maybe like you don't think you're attacking them, but it could be coming across that way, being like, oh, there's
Totally.
something wrong with you, you smell, right? And then
Yes.
it's like the child is the problem. The child's not the problem.
Never. Never.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. So you're
Hmm.
telling me I'm on the right track.
Well, I use it, so I like it.
I love that.
Yeah. So what about for parents who are listening and their kid, let's say, is already using deodorant or other personal care products, and they're really into those ones that are like really full of scent, really filled with questionable toxins. How do we help them transition over to something like Ellie's Earth that is safer?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Listen, first of all, Ellie's Earth is sized, shaped, and scented for young armpits. So we did that deliberately. So the tube itself actually fits into little kids' armpits. That was the other thing by design where I found the older, like adult deodorants were too big. Like it was actually coming up over my daughter's armpit. Um, but all that to say, they work on adults too. So if you're in doubt, give it a try. We've got a discount code that we can use. Thank you for that, Hillary. So give it a try on yourself because if it works for you, it's definitely going to work for your child, right? So that would be the first thing. I think. I mean, listen, if at the end of the day, for me, it's you do you, right? Like if something is working for you, and if you're not looking to migrate or change, that's totally fine. But if you are looking to make that shift, what I would recommend is research the ingredients. Do a compare and contrast. What does your existing product have? What does Ellie's Earth have? What does Ellie's Earth not have? And then you can make an informed decision. I think the other piece is, from day one, this has nothing to do with ingredients, but all and everything to do with social responsibility. So we give $1 back from every tube sold to the Hospital for Sick Kids in Toronto. So if nothing else, buy it because you're giving back to community, right?
And then what about convincing our kids to use it versus like those other ones that maybe their friends have in their bags that are really strong smelling and
Yeah.
harsh? Like, is there anything that we can do to help them to make that transition? Or do you find that because it does look similar. It does have a beautiful scent. It fits their body. It looks cool in their soccer bag. Like it's a pretty easy swap.
I actually think it is. So the feedback that I'm getting is actually that kids who use, so first of all, kids who use their mom and dad's deodorant are not as confident to pull it out of their bag because it's their moms or their dads. Whereas the kids that are using Ellie's Earth are much more confident to pull it out of their bag because it's made for them. It says on the tube, youth natural deodorant. So for the first time, they're actually not pulling out something that belongs to their mom. They're 13, 14 years old, and they've got something they can call their own. I've got parents buying three. They put one in the dance bag, one in the school backpack, one in their bathroom. Because the kids are saying, I want to use this. I don't want to use yours anymore, mom. So actually the shift, if anything, is the other way where the kids are looking at the kids using the Ellie's Earth and saying, hey, where'd you get that? Can I have that?
That's really cool. I
Yeah, it
love
is
that.
cool.
Yeah, I haven't, my kids are still younger and not using deodorant, but I definitely wasn't looking forward to having that pressure of like everybody else around them using these stinky
I
things.
know.
And so that's really good. And for parents, how do we ensure that the products that we bring into our house and we give to our kids to use, whether it's deodorant or toothpaste or like all the other personal care products, how do we ensure that they're safe and healthy?
Oh my gosh, I know. Because there's so many different credentials and badges. Companies will often say free from,
Hmm.
and it'll include, a free from this, but then you read the ingredients and it's got a couple other ingredients that are not so great for you. Um, I think what's great is we are in an age where information is at our fingertips. And so I go back to take the time, do the compare and contrast, read through the ingredients. I think it also goes back to, in full transparency, to comfort level with the ingredients as well as budget. Like I don't think we can discount that, especially today. And so I think what's important is coming to a product that provides you with balance. So it gives you enough of the natural ingredients that you're looking for, but also meets your lifestyle and your balance. I think that's what's important too.
Yeah, it really is. And with products like yours, and there's so many more coming out on the market in the personal care space that are a lot more affordable and they work well. It's
Yeah,
really nice. Like, again, back 15 years ago, like that was not the case. Everything was so much more expensive, and it's really nice to see just options out there.
that's it. That's it. And you know what? Um, Again, it's whatever works for you and your family and your kids. And that's why, to your point, there's so many different options. So go with what works for you. My only recommendation and what I do as a parent is, yes, I am that mom that's in the aisle looking at the back. I've got my phone. I'm reading because that's what's important to me. I need to know what's going into my kids' stomachs, what I'm putting onto their skin. Our skin is our largest organ of our body. So, and it's something that you don't always think about, but whatever you put on topically does get absorbed. So that's what I would, and especially under the armpits, because you've got lymph nodes there. So let's just be mindful and careful of what we put onto our skin in this area because it is getting seeped into our bodies, right?
Yeah, it really is. I have an app called Chemical Maze on my phone, and that's really helpful to look up certain ingredients. It's more often food, but it does have some um, ingredients that are in personal care. But there's also, oh, I can't remember. Is it the EWG? I think they have a app as well that you can look up ingredients if you're not sure. I mean, you can just Google, like you're saying as well,
Totally.
but it can be easy to look things up that way to see what is this thing that I have never heard of.
Yes, exactly. And so our products are barcoded. You can also use, I think there's an app called Yuka that you can also use and just scan it, and that will give you a score or a rating also.
Yeah, I have heard really good things about that app.
Yeah.
And what do you suggest that parents do to help educate their kids on using products that are healthier? Like, is this a conversation that you have with your kids? Do you explain to them about how what you put on your skin does get absorbed? Or do you just focus on giving them good quality products that are healthy, so they just use them without even thinking.
Oh, that's such a great question. And you know what's funny actually is my kids are very different in ages. Like my oldest is 18, my youngest is 12. And so with my 18-year-old, it's very much teaching her that yes, there are options. But I want her to be mindful. Again, I go back to what you're ingesting and what you're putting on your skin is very, very important. And so, yes, some of these items that are all natural based tend to be a little higher priced on that price spectrum. But in the long term, in the long run, they're going to do better for you. And so, the conversation I have with her is let's spend a little bit more on these types of products. And maybe we cut back on a couple of other things. For like, I don't, I mean, whatever those other things are that can then give us the budget to be able to focus on all natural personal care products. With my youngest, it's a different conversation because she's not there. I mean, she is a little bit, but it's not so much that budget and long term. So with my youngest, I'm honestly just introducing her right off the bat to natural care products. Of course, her friends are, at that age, it's like pre-puberty, so they're using different products, and so, she often comes home and says, my friend was using, this type of shampoo. I was asking her the other day what type of shampoo, and she's like, and she's using this, and her hair smells really good. Why are we using this one? And so then it was okay, well let's talk about that. Let's talk about the difference in shampoos. And we actually, we went to the pharmacy and we were I mean, gosh, this. There's like 200 different types of shampoos, but it's looking at the prices, looking at what's in the shampoos. I if I can say, I think what it goes back to is taking these moments as education for our kids. I think it's our responsibility to promote education and awareness wherever we can. Because when they get older, the hope is that they will make thoughtful purchases and thoughtful decisions that will promote themselves to be healthy and that will just stay with them as they grow. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
It's
no,
it's tough.
it is tough. Yeah. I find like from my perspective, I've started my kids off early with these products. So for them it is just normal. So what other people are using and when they do have like the big scents and different things like that in it, that they notice because they are quite different to what we have. But I even talk to them like, at an age appropriate level about like what's in them and like why we use this versus that.
Yes,
And they really do resonate with that. And they will ask me like, "Oh, does this toothpaste have that funny stuff in it that like I have to spit out?" Or like they'll just say things like that. And it's nice to like start it off from the beginning. I imagine it's easier to do that way than to like jump in when your kid's 13 and be
totally.
like, "Oh my goodness, we have to like unlearn all this stuff."
Totally.
I don't envy
Totally.
parents at that stage, but I know so many people do go through that.
I think the other thing though is, if you're making the migration or the shift and the kids are already at that age where they've made decisions on their own and they may or may not be using different products, is to do things slowly and one at a time.
Yeah.
You do not need to do this shift overnight. Like start with the dish soap, swap out the dish soap. Start small, take baby steps, but also like as you're making these thoughtful choices, vocalize the thoughtful choices. So make sure you're transparent and you tell your kids, I'm switching out the dish soap. They may not care, but tell them the why. And then next week, when your laundry detergent runs out, swap that out with something natural. And then, but keep having that conversation. And it doesn't have to be like a docu-series, right? Like it's more of, I'm switching out the laundry detergent. Hey, what do you think of this one? Do you like it? Do you like the smell? This is why I kind of changed it. What do you think?
Yeah, you don't have to go into like
No,
reading the research to them and everything. And
no,
that's not very helpful. But yeah, I
no.
like that. Like taking it slow, swapping things out, and starting with those things that you're swapping out. So they see that and you're
Yes,
modeling it versus like forcing them coming home, be like, you need to use this deodorant and not this one because that one's like not good for you or something, right? Like it's easier
totally.
if they see us do it and then they just follow suit more likely.
Absolutely. And you know what's funny is they will likely come to you and say, "Hey, you know what? Is there a different alternative to this deodorant?"
Mm.
I bet, like if they start seeing us model the change with other items across our house, by virtue of osmosis, if nothing else, they will start to mimic that change.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think for Ellie's Earth, are you guys staying with deodorant or do you see yourself expanding into other products? I don't know if I can be asking that or not.
You
So,
totally can ask that. Yes, absolutely. So I've made a decision to stay neck down. I think the like the facial kind of skincare industry is very busy and not a space that I wanted to delve in. So when I say neck down, what we're looking at are body washes. So all natural body washes. I'm very excited about that, and mini deodorants. What I really want to do actually is be able to launch like emergency kits for kids. So if you think of like a pouch, especially for girls, and again, I go back to having the conversation before it actually happens. Is having that period conversation before it happens and putting that emergency kit in their backpack before the school calls you and says, "Hey, you know, your daughter got her period, and so we've given her a pad, but you may want to." No kid wants to go through that. So put an extra pair of underwear in that emergency kit, put a lip balm and a mini deodorant. So we're coming out with the mini deodorants too.
oh, I love that. Are there other conversations that you think are really important that we have before it happens? Like, I think the period is such a big one, and like we've talked about here, like body odor. What are some other ones that you think are helpful for us to talk to our kids about before they are developmentally at that stage?
The other one that I think that we have had with our kids at a very early age, and I'm sure a lot of parents do also, is boundaries.
Mm.
And when I say boundaries, you naturally think about our bodies and other people coming close to your kids' bodies and where like the touching, not touching conversation. But I think also setting boundaries when it comes to physical and mental capacity. And so what I mean by that is, and one of the conversations we have with our kids is, when you've got friends, and the conversation will sound different, of course, as depending on the age of your child. Um, but for example, with my youngest, and I'm sure parents can relate to this, you may have one or two kids that are constantly attached to them, following them wherever they go, constantly in their face. What are you doing now? What are you doing now? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? And not giving your child space. And it's a bit of a compliment because they want to be around them and they find them, to be a great friend. But that is a boundary conversation because that can be very draining physically and mentally. And so I think having boundary conversations at a very early age so that your kids identify when they're being stressed, as opposed to holding it in and then letting it all out when they come home, I think is a very, very important conversation. Again, I am not an expert, but for me as a mom, that was very important to give my kids the knowledge and the power to know they have the right to be able to set that boundary and say to somebody else, "Do you know what? I do enjoy your friendship, but I just need some space right now." And I think that's okay.
I think it's more than okay. I think those conversations are really important. And you can see that at all ages, whether we're
Yes.
3 years old or we're like 99, we're going to have some of those challenges come up.
Yes. So boundaries is a big one for us anyway in our household.
Yeah, those are good conversations to have.
Yeah,
And they're tricky. Like there's something that is really
totally.
helpful for parents to actually explicitly like model and teach to our kids because a lot of the time they don't know what to do. And
No.
it can be scary to kind of say something like that to a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I think if you do it in a very kind and caring way, and if, again, we go back to, how we model those conversations, I think also, like as parents, we've all got that one friend who just is so taxing every time they come over. Right. And so sometimes what will happen is, our kids will hear us kind of vent and complain about it after. I think we need to be mindful of that too and setting
Mm.
that boundary so that we don't have that vent session afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Or they see us at least problem solve around that and do something about it next time.
You got it. There you go. Right.
Yeah, I think my boundaries too, we can model it with our kids. Like sometimes we can be with our kids all day long and we're busy and we're doing things. And sometimes we need space, a few minutes from them. And I talk to my kids and I tell them rather than having to just like lose my cool, I can talk to them and say, like, look, I need 5 minutes to myself to have this cup of tea while it's warm. You can sit beside me and read your book, but you can't sit on me and be like right in my face for 5 minutes. And then I will give you attention, but I need this time. And it's not about you. It's about like how I'm feeling inside. And I find that so much more helpful than just like trying to
Yes,
hold it in, trying to hold it in, try to do all the things. And then it just becomes too much.
it does become too, and it becomes too much very quickly,
Yeah.
right? And then it just snowballs. So yeah, I think open, honest, candid conversations with our kids about how we're feeling, about how we're doing, about the boundaries we set for ourselves. I think also when we're setting boundaries, even as it relates to work, I know we're going off on a tangent, but this is just so important for me as a conversation too. Is also, telling my kids. So I'll tell my kids, you know what? Someone's calling me right now for work, but you know what? I'm actually not going to answer because we're playing a card game and I'm really enjoying this. So I'm actually not going to answer. I think that's important too.
Yeah. So speaking of work,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about like what you've learned along the journey of like building this brand of Ellie's Earth?
Oh my gosh, so much. So, and you know what's really really awesome and it's likely also just being born from the work that I do in my 9 to 5. So, I mean, I am in front of strategy and I do a lot of user experience and like just really understanding like pain points in any consumer's journey as it relates to any product and how we solve for those pain points. So no different than with the deodorant and my own experience as a consumer, as the end consumer end user and understanding my own pain points in that journey. So I couldn't find a product that was natural. I couldn't find a product that smelled soft enough for kids and that was shaped for their armpits. Okay, remind me of the question.
Oh, I'm just curious about like what you learned along the journey of
Yeah.
developing this because it's a big endeavor.
Do you know what? You know what the worst thing is? And I don't know if we do this as women. You're right. It is a big endeavor. And I often forget that. And I very, very often diminish it.
Mhm.
Like, shame on me. You're so right. So I'm gonna just let that sink in for a second because it is massive. And I don't say that enough. And I know I should. Um, I launched a net new product that the market has never seen before. Like this is huge. And I just do myself a disservice. I really do. I need to shift that. Anyways, what have I learned? I've learned a lot about myself. To that point, I've learned that I need to tell my story more. Number one, I've also learned, um, oh my gosh, so many like I don't even know where to start. So everything from like as an entrepreneur, the lows are very low, lower than an employed 9 to 5. The lows are very, very deep, and the highs are like 10,000 feet high. So here's what I've learned. If you are not passionate about what you do, and if you're doing this only for the money, you won't make it. You will not make it because the lows are so low. It takes everything in you to dig deep and you have to fight and you just grit it through to be able to come back up to enjoy the high. And sometimes those highs don't come for months. So if you really don't love what you do, like if this is not the fire in your belly, walk away because it can't be for the money.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I've learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about if there's moms listening to this that are thinking about creating their own product or becoming an entrepreneur in some way? Like, what do you recommend
God.
for them? Where do they start?
Oh my God, just jump in. Like seriously, like listen. I like if you want to find me, some like I'm on social, send me a DM. I will help you. I don't have a book that you need to buy. I don't have a course that you need to subscribe to. I will just help you. Um, the other thing that I've learned along this journey is, people will often offer help and assistance, and it comes at a cost. And I found a couple people that have offered their help and support and advice and counsel for free. And I never took advantage of that. And their advice and counsel took me farther than anything I would have paid for. And I think as a woman, the resources, I mean, you hear a lot about, oh, there's grants and there's resources available for women. I really haven't found a lot yet, and I've been looking. So if you are employed or not employed, either way, and you're looking to start a new project or start a new venture, and you don't think you have what it takes, I promise you, you do. If I can do it, you can do it. And if you need help, just, bridging that gap from I've got an idea and I don't know how to start, gosh, just send me a message and I will help you.
And was there anything here that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask about?
Um, No, I don't think so. I think, I go back to I'm really and as a company, we're really focused on shifting the conversation and really changing the paradigm from having a body odor conversation after it happens to before it happens. I guarantee you, I promise you, I've learned from my own experience that is the key to success here. Have it before it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being proactive with this and with so many other parts of parenting is definitely the easier path.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Can you tell people where they can find Ellie's Earth, where they can find the deodorant, where they can learn more about you guys?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. So we're on Instagram, of course. It's ellies.earth. We're on TikTok, we're on Facebook. You can find us online at elliesearth.ca. The CA is intentional. We are Canadian made and proud to be Canadian, and I likely will not be changing that to a .com. Just full transparency. That's a proud Canadian owner staying true to what she believes. And we are in a couple of bricks and mortar right now. So as of today, we're in Burlington, Ontario, in Mapleview Mall. So there's many different ways that you can reach us. Yeah,
Yeah, excellent. And can we buy it directly through your website?
you can. And if you used WildWell20, you will get 20% off.
Amazing. Well, thank you so
Yay!
much for that. That's great. I'm gonna have to try some out myself or for my kids. Well, thank you so much for coming on here today and talking about like having these conversations with our kids and how we can create a healthier self-care routine for our children and our teens. I really appreciate your time and what it is that you're doing. This is very, very needed.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's been my pleasure, and I love that you are having these conversations, and I love that you're just promoting and advocating for us as moms and primary caregivers to have these conversations with our kids. You're doing great work, Hillary. Thank you.